Welcome to the Empowered Marriage podcast and welcome to the Empowered Marriage on YouTube. My name is Helen Harrison and I talk everything about marriage. So if you're married or if you're in a relationship and you'd like to improve the quality of your relationship and have more passion, desire and fun, then keep listening. So today's podcast is podcast 68. And my marriage isn't working. That's what I'm talking about. And so I'm going to talk about the different reasons why your marriage may not be working and what you can begin to do to improve the quality of your marriage. So the common reasons that I see, I'm going to list the main few of what I see of why a marriage isn't working. I'd say one of the top ones would be well, actually, they're pretty much aligned. Money and sex. That's a big one that couples have disagreements about, have fights about, and a lot of resistance. So if we go to sex first, sexual issues. So what does that look like? For a lot of people, it's not having enough, but also the quality of the sex. And I could do a whole podcast about that. So I'm not going to go totally just align right into that. But sexual issues, they are big. And then that can create a lot of resistance, a lot of assumptions, taking things personally. It affects your self-worth, your self-esteem. And it's just like the spiral down. So if you're listening to this and you've got marriage problems and there's sexual issues, it's okay, keep listening. Because you need to get on top of that, literally. Pardon the pun. The other thing is money. So differing views about money. You know, money can mean such different things for people. For some people it can mean experiences. For others it's security. For others it's power. Money has got so many different levels to it and parts to it. But if you're having problems with money in your marriage and in your relationship, then that is not a good thing. So keep listening. Another big thing I see, apart from those two top subjects, is common goals. When you're with someone for any length of time, what can begin to happen is that yes, you're aligned and you've got these common goals, but over time your goals can change. And if you don't have common goals, it's sometimes can cause quite a distance between you. So that can be a problem. Let's then get in and under some other things that occur in relationships. You're just not understanding each other. You're just not hitting the mark. You're just not getting each other. It's like it just doesn't click like it used to, and that causes problems. You both then have difficulty in expressing love and expressing affection. It all trickles through to it. Different interests, and like I said earlier, different goals. Another really big one, which I think really I should have had up in sex and in money, is parenting. That's a big one. We often parent how we were parented, or we might go the whole pendulum the other way. So if we were raised in an environment where there was no discipline, there was no guidance, there was no sort of structure, you might go the whole other way. Or if you were raised in an environment where there was a lot of control and you felt quite caged and trapped a lot of the time, you go the other way with your parenting. Ideally, the whole idea is not to flip right over to the other side, but find a place in the middle. Last thing I would see working with couples would be when you've got all that going on, there can be a fair bit of a power struggle. And when we're in that place, there's that, do you want to be happy or right? It's like you've just got to be right at any level. I've got to be right because you've got all that other backlog of stuff. So if you're listening to this and any of this is speaking to you, what do you do with it? Like, do you just shut up shop and close down and, like a lot of people do, become quite repressed or disassociated, numb? Do you become a bit like a turtle? You go in your turtle shell and you just stay there. Don't know how to deal with it, so I won't. So I'll just go in there. Or perhaps you get on the bottle and you drink, or you gamble, or if you've got sexual issues, I'll just watch porn. That'll sort it. Is any of that going to give you an empowered marriage? Are you going to be happy long term? No, you're not. I can tell you you're not. And then in time, you may continue to live like that, or you'll separate and divorce. So, what needs to happen if you are in a marriage and it's not going as, peacefully and happily, and you're not thriving, and you haven't got that passion, you haven't got desire, and you may have all of those or some of those issues that I've talked about? What do you do with that? Well, what do you think you need to do? What would be the first thing that you would need to do? Ask yourself that. If you're listening to me, and this may not be the first time that you've listened to me, because I repeat myself in many different ways to, I suppose, get my point across, that you've got to put the energy and the time and make your relationship a priority to get it to a place, because it will not happen on its own. It will wither away and it will die. And so it's about becoming committed to your marriage and to your relationship to get it to that place of where you're connected, where you're committed, where there's an amazing communication, where you actually listen to understand. So, first point I would make if you're in this place is create some space and time, daily, ideally. But if you can't do daily, do every second day, where you connect. No distractions. Turn the phone off, turn the kids off. If you've got little kids, put them to bed. But create space so that you, as an adult, committed couple, can sit opposite each other and start speaking into how you're feeling and what you're thinking. Because this emotion, it won't go away, it just stays inside of you. And then you start to feel a bit of resentment and rejection, and it's not a great place to start. So, don't let any distractions get in the way. You sit down. And then that'll be my first thing, is to start talking into this. And how can you begin finding solutions to some of these issues that you may be having? It is really, really important you find a way to connect again. I don't know what that is. We are all different. Do you walk and talk and connect that way? Do you go and play table tennis out in the rumpus room and connect that way? Do you grab a cup of tea and go out the front? Do you meet down at the pub and connect that way? Find a way to connect again. And perhaps bring in a bit of lightness first, a bit of fun. Do you go and have a game of tennis? Do you go out on the jet ski? Do you pack a picnic? Do you go camping? I mean, it's just endless. And when you go camping, when the kids are gone to bed, do you connect then? But find a way to connect again. Do you organise a weekend away? And if you take the kids, again, babysitting service at the hotel, you have to be creative. You've got to get out of the box. What happens is when we start breaking away from our partner and not connecting like we used to, we're not creative. We can also be quite in the masculine energy, and which is that forward moving, solution focused energy. But sometimes the compassion and the softness and the calmness is gone because we're in survival. We're in the fight and flight mode some of the time. And so we're not able to think out of the box and come up with any solutions. But it's being able to create an environment where little by little you can start talking about this. And it is about having, I suppose, if you were to really put it in a nutshell, the want, the will, and work. 3 W's. Want, will, and work. And I don't like to name relationships as work. And maybe I need to come up with a different word, but it's being able to make your relationship a priority, because there is no magic wand to get you from here to here. The thing is, you got together initially and you would have had passion and desire and fun and connection. And now you're in a place, could be work, study, children, moving, ill health, parent-in-laws, it doesn't really matter, but there could be a number of things that have disconnected you both as a couple. So what are you going to do about that? So when you make the time to begin connecting, a question to perhaps ask yourself first before you bring it into the conversation is, why is our marriage not working anymore? What has gone on for us to get to this place where we are like two ships passing in the night? We're not connecting. It's like we're two flatmates. We're just sharing a house. We might be raising the children together. But that spark, that desire, it's gone. So why is our marriage not working? When did it start beginning to die down? Unravel, however you want to call it. So the key is to begin talking to each other. However, not just surface level. What happens is when your marriage isn't working, it does become quite surface. Sometimes what can happen is called the seesaw effect, where one of you may be very much more emotional than the other. We'll call it the woman. Fair bit of the time it is, but not always the case, where when you're in a relationship that isn't working, when you're in a marriage that isn't working, what can begin to happen, particularly for the male, he begins to suppress his feelings and his thoughts and his emotions. However, that's got to go somewhere. And what happens is often the woman will begin to express even more. It's like the seesaw effect. So if you're the male and you're starting to really shut down and go in your turtle shell, the woman with the seesaw effect, because you're not expressing, she's starting to become perhaps more emotional, could be quite finding it hard to actually regulate her emotions. But seesaw effect, because you may not be, say the male, if I'm talking to you, you may not be expressing your emotions. So the key is for it to level up, for the one who is shut down to come up, and for the one who's right up here to come down. And so that you can again bring in that relationship that you used to have, which was filled with pleasure, filled with desire, filled with fun. However, you've got to talk about it. So, what I see is couples, they stop talking to each other. And the key is, when you're with your partner, it's almost imagine, you know what, I see you and I hear you and I understand what you're saying. And gosh, if you could even say that to your partner, I hear you. I hear that A, B, C, D, and E, and this is hurting you, and you're feeling unsupported. I hear you, and I see you. You have no idea what that will do to the quality of your relationship, and it's for both of you to do that. If one of you is feeling unheard and unsupported, I'll put my money on you are both doing that. You are both at that place. So we get these common signs that our marriage needs attention. It needs nurturing. Look at your kids. You know, when they're acting up and when they're playing up, why are they doing that? A lot of the time will be they don't know how to express what they're feeling, so they do it with acting out, particularly if there's a few siblings, right? They'll niggle at one or annoy one or, but at least they're getting attention. And how does that behavior then transfer into your marriage or in your relationship? When it's not working, you've stopped connecting. You've stopped perhaps going on your little walks that you used to do. Or perhaps you used to go on a monthly date. Or perhaps you used to snuggle up at night in front of the TV. And just really check in with each other. How you both going, how you feeling. And a lot of that could have been pre-kids. I see a lot of changes that occurs in relationships once you have children. Very, very normal. Children take a lot from you. However, once your children leave, you still want your relationship. And so I do hear a lot from couples, we'll get to our relationship once the kids are a bit older. No. I don't believe that is a very supportive and effective way to be in a marriage. Your marriage needs constant attention and love. And if you do not give it that, your marriage will die. Too many people, particularly with children under 5, I see it happen regularly, so that the life energy goes out of that. Fantastic if you've got a support network, but a lot of people don't. So working within the finances, working within the network of support that you've got, working within the reality of your life is how do you begin coming back to each other. Well, being vulnerable, being able to share what you're feeling is the key. You can do a lot of work yourself. Journaling is hugely helpful. Clear a lot of that out yourself before you dump it on your partner, because if we feel attacked or criticised, we shut down and we don't want to hear what you got to say. So do a lot of that yourself, but then come back and, like I said, get the distractions out of the way. Find a way to connect again. You need a will, a want, and work. Talk into all the different areas that may be needing attention. And once, when we have sexual issues, that just goes to another level. That really gets connected into our self-esteem. It can affect our self-confidence. So it's having conversations, because it's so important to connect sexually. If you're going months and months and months without sex, for an intimate couple, that's pretty tough. So begin having some conversations around that. That's sometimes seeing a therapist can be really helpful. And it may only be a few sessions to begin talking into that, because it's too painful to do it yourself. So reflect on why your marriage isn't working, starting asking quality questions. But as you hear me talk in all of my podcasts, it is all about being able to communicate. And so communicate with yourself first, get really clear, and then begin making time with your partner. It's so, so important. So look, I really hope this has been helpful. There's never enough time. I could yak on about this topic. But look, would love to have a review. iTunes, I don't think Spotify do reviews, but I know iTunes or Google, or even just send me an email, Helen at Power of Change. Send me an email. Love to hear from you. My website is powerofchange.com.au. Everything you need to know about what I'm doing is on my website. If you've got any questions, also I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram being the Helen Harrison, not just Helen Harrison on its own. Anyway, until I do another podcast, which will be very soon, enjoy living in your empowered marriage, in your empowered life, and create more passion, desire, and fun, because you deserve it. See you next time. Bye.